Hey guys, welcome to Untier Talk. We're actually doing it. I know it's coming so late in the week, but we're here to recap the singular thing that happened. I mean, it's a pretty big thing. We had some quick bands, but still. Me and Hajad are back to talk about Golurk and Gapadash.
The Gap.
The Gap. Honestly, good thing we banned it just so we don't have to say Gapadash. I really did not like needing to use it. It
Yeah,
in
it's
like
very
in
rough,
like the
isn't
title of the thread Gapadash band and stuff because I'm not going to type out Galarian Rapidash. It's really long for a thread title, but it's not a good name, Gapadash.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to give some context, it is late Thursday for me and early Friday for him. uh we're going to have a VR vote done and out pretty soon. The PUPL draft is going to be this Sunday. The DLC is dropping this Wednesday, so we're coming like right before a lot of things are happening. And the council's like, look at these new drops before all this stuff happens. They got to go. So we did a vote. We banned Galarian Rapidash and Golurk, the two new drops that are pretty broken. Voted on some other stuff. Almost banned it, but didn't. And we're just gonna cover that. Gapadash is the first thing. It was voted to be banned 8-1. Was it 9 people? Was it just 8 people? One, two, three,
I'm
four.
pretty sure it was 8.
Yeah, it was
It was
only
only 8
eight
people.
because yeah, Teddy was still coming back from like being way too. He had to take a little bit of a hiatus at the Rona, all that. Yeah, Tlenit voted do not ban, so it was 7-1. Banned pretty strongly. I haven't really seen anyone seriously go. This should have stayed. Even in the room where someone advocates for everything, Galarian Rapidash was just. What if Mr. Mime didn't kind of suck?
Yeah.
Um, Second, tied for the third fastest Mon in the meta. Um, Funny grassy seed sets, does physical, does special, has all this coverage, healing wish, agility, calm mind, morning sun, uh, literally whatever you want. Swords dance as well. It just did whatever, and like you can't really be competitive about it because it could just pull out some shit and then you'd lose. There are mons that are
Yeah.
diverse, but not really so diverse physically and specially with the different coverage options and different like support options. This is not diverse in the same way Mr. Rhyme is diverse. We're like, yeah, Mr. Rhyme does a lot, but it's all still like the same special attacking ice psychic type at least. Galarian Rapidash just kind of hit all the buttons, so we nuked it.
Yeah, glad we did.
Oh, that's really all you had. Yeah, that's fair. There's not a ton to this. Golurk, on the other
Yeah.
hand, that was much closer. Both Akira and I voted to not ban it, but it still got banned by 5-2 to 1 vote. Sam was like, "Nope, I played a lot of this meta and I just didn't run to Golurk and I shouldn't be voting." Like, okay, sure. Um, why don't you talk about why you wanted to ban it first?
Uh, yeah, okay. I think the the key thing with Gola that stood out to me was I was building a few of my teams, and a lot of them were lacking ground immunities, and I had to really go out of my way to put in proper ground resists. Just before Golek existed, this was a thing that I was aware of.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already aware of the fact that okay, if we have a sufficiently strong ground type that enters the tier, uh,
Not
it would
Sunfisk.
it would wreak havoc with the current system of defensive checks that we currently have. Because there's a lot of Marini, a lot of Mawile. Um, it's just not a very ground friendly meta at the moment. Same way it was like last gen with fire types. We didn't have fire resists, so I sort of envisioned a strong ground type entering the tier and being a problem. Golub dropped, and on top of having good ground coverage and being strong, it had coverage, good enough coverage to hit the actual ground resist that we did have. So Ice Punch, Heat Crash to hit Leafeons and Silvally Grasses and stuff. Um, Heavy Slams, for example, to hit Vibrava and all that stuff. And yeah, it had something for every ground resist that you could possibly want. Um, and on top of that, it had very good speed if you gave it Choice Scarf. So it could or it could be anti-offense or anti-balance depending on how you wanted it to be. And those are elements that, in my opinion, made it over the top.
Yeah. I'm going to speak now for the opposing side for why we didn't really want to ban Golurk. We should look at banning it like now, but when we banned it, maybe it's a little too early to tell. That's it, really. I don't disagree with anything. Golurk's kind of crazy. I feel like it could have had a little bit more time because it's still like slow and weak to most things, and most top mons in the meta are pretty good versus it. But I wouldn't have been remotely shocked if 3 days after the vote, I'm like, okay, it's time to get rid of Golurk. I just wanted to maybe try to give it more time, just considering that like we weren't gonna have another. There was nothing else to really be concerned about voting on pre PUPL plus DLC coming out. So maybe try giving Golurk another few days. That was really it. It's not as crazy, stupid, overwhelming as Galarian Rapidash or the other stuff we banned, but it was also still really silly, and I'm fine that it's gone. That's it. Golurk kind of just leads into the other stuff. We voted on Double. Nobody really needed that banned. Mr. Rhyme, and then a bunch of Silvali's that some people wanted banned, and that was the other. We got a lot of questions. Why did like half the council vote to ban Silvally Grass? And when you're dealing with a meta like this, I did try to speak about this in council minutes and stuff, but I think it's also good to just hear someone actually articulate it. There are problems. It's hard. You can't really build and expect to check everything. It is an unbalanced meta where offensive threats have full dominance. It feels like Little Cup. It really does in that respect, where things will just kill things. And I like Little Cup. I compare this metagame to Little Cup and to OMs, like almost any ability. When you're not running to stall, that is. I use that a lot in the Discord. That's what PU feels like here, and I use that positively, but it is also like unbalanced and a bit less competitive. So when you have all these Silvali's, it's like really fucking hard to stop, and they're crazy good mons. And they're a very attractive place to just start removing things and making the meta more manageable, making it easier to check random stuff. Golurk falls into that category, but even more so. We're like, no, maybe it's not the craziest thing you've ever seen, but by golly, we got to do something. That's where I think we land with Golurk.
Yeah, I think just generally as like a philosophical approach to the tier, you can either have two approaches to this where everything is sort of balanced, everything is checkable, everything can be worked around. You can have an approach which is we're going to keep banning stuff until building becomes easier and you're able to build like consistently, which would be like, okay, we would define what's constraining building, so what's causing the most problems in the building phase, and then we'd suspect test them or council vote on them, and then seek to get rid that way. Or we say, okay, well, nothing is truly broken, so just deal with it. I think NU took that sort of philosophy in Gen 7, where Slowbro and Steelix and stuff were reasonable meta-defining walls, and it's like everything is checkable by these two things. Deal with it, or just don't just deal with like the mass amount of threats, and try and be more diverse in your offensive builds. Yeah, that's where the skill gap is.
And PU does not even have that.
That's what I would enact to PU, is that we don't really have a Slowbro plus Steelix core or a Mudsdale plus Eel core like we used to have. We have Marini and Mawile and very limited offensive pressure. So I would say it's probably better to lean on the side which is, let's look at the most restricting things, ban those if majority of the council consensus is like, yeah, this is overbearing, and then we move from there. So
yeah,
I would, yeah.
Um, I will say I totally agree. Part of that is why it did not come down ban on Silvally grass. Um, a good portion of council is for it. You're more for it just because you want to ban all Silvallies, but like there are people who wanted that ban and not the other Silvallies. Um, I don't think it is the biggest restrictive problem. I think we'd end up pretty much in the same place because Leafeon and Thwacky take not the same stuff to check, but pretty similar. I don't think that would free things up. I've said this on
Yeah,
the
I agree.
Discord before. Um, if we're going to ban a
Of the
Silvally, I think it's Silvally Bug, which is the only very strong bug type in the
yeah,
in the tier that requires much more like specific and unique checks. I also get
yeah,
Silvally Psychic and Electric because like no one's running physical Psychic and Electric types really. Silvally Grass is probably the second best Silvally at this point. I still think Silvally Bug is the best. I really do. Other people think like, nah, it's not even top three Silvallis, but the strong U-turns, the ability to break things, and the ability to be much more unique, I think
yeah,
really is what we're coming down for and looking at with bans. I think Silvally Bug. I still think Phalanx potentially as the speed boosting fighting type in that manner, whereas you beat throw and Hitmontop and stuff are still slow. I think those are much better places to look for bans. That being said, more of the council is warming up to a blanket Savali check. This is something we are discussing, and obviously DLC may or may not completely change that. But if it doesn't, it is on the table at this point. We only have like 6 left, and they're all pretty good except for Ice. And you don't see much Rock, but Rock is still pretty good. Ice is fine. It's still a
yeah.
Savali.
I think I don't really have much of a I guess platform because I don't really post too much to explain my Silvally opinion too much. So I guess I'll just explain it now. Um, of all of the Varleys that I voted on, the one that I thought was the weakest of all my votes, because I voted ban on all of them, was the Silvally grass ban. Even though that was the one that ended up being the most popular Silvally to ban, I was the least happy with that ban decision on mine because, as you said, it was a lot of things that we have in the meta do what Silvally grass does, like Leafeon, like Trevenant, like Gorgeist. Um, there are things that offensively restrict the same amount that Silvally grass does. So my opinion has always been if any Silvally is uh, balanced, it's probably either going to be grass or ice. Those two are the hopes that we have of retaining some kind of Silvally presence in the tier.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
just because they can default. That's a useful thing that they can do, and they also don't restrict in the same way that other Silvallies restrict the builder. The rest of them are just nuke because they're so vastly different compared to the other of the same type in that category. I would just not even bother and just nuke them. The only two I really think about is those two, and I had reason to believe after how the meta has been developing that if you could run a Silvally Grass with mixed coverage or a bulky sub SD set, which became popular recently, that Grass was too overwhelming to even consider it at that point, which is how I came to my decision.
yeah. Totally fair. I will also say, like the few things I noted, Phalanx, uh, Psychic, and Electric Silvally. After those, I don't really think there are many mons that just don't have much overlap. It is going to be hard to look for what to ban, in my opinion. Um,
Yeah,
it,
it's getting to that point
the easy way
back
out
in.
would be just getting some good fat mons. Like DLC comes out, if we get Boufflant in this tier, that is immediately a notable weakening of the grass type presence right now. Something like that, I think, is it would be such an easier solution. Or like maybe Emolga is really good, or Poliwrath gets here, or Politoed, and they're like amazing. Um, Realistically, though, we'll
Right?
probably end up with like Krokorok and Luxray being really good offensive threats. So
Yeah, Yeah, I
I mean,
think
Krokorok
yeah.
would be sick. Don't get me wrong. I love Krokorok. It's a cool Pokemon, but it'd actually be really good offensively, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah,
It's got the ground type attacks. It doesn't beat double like Golurk does, but it's good against the all of the psychics in the tier.
it's
Um,
got taunt.
it's got taunt, and it actually has rocks, which like is still a really valuable commodity right now. And it's another electric immunity. Again, pretty valuable commodity. Like anyway, that was a bit of a sidetrack. Yeah, that's pretty much how we feel about bands. I think we covered the meta thoughts there pretty
Yeah, I think
well.
yeah, I think just as a final note, I think we're getting to that point, as you said, where nothing is outstandingly broken beyond those few threats that we have left. It's getting to that point where back in Oras, was it Oras? No, it was SM, where we had like Magmortar and Archeops, and we were like, oh, but nothing's really that broken. Should we stay with how we are or continue to seek bans? I think in retrospect, we can agree that removing Archeops and Magmortar and stuff were good ideas
Mm-hmm.
based on the meta down the line. Um, but we would need to identify those same things, like future versions of Archeops and Magmortar, um, to take that same approach. I guess
Right.
the idea would be to take a similar approach.
And that's the key difference. What would those mons be? I don't know. Maybe we ban Mr. Rhyme, but we still have a tier with Glaceon and Behem.
Yeah,
Maybe we ban Throw and we still have Graplocked. Magmortar was
yeah,
supposed to be like the last big fire. After that, we had Combuskin and Simisear. Neither of them were meant to be really broken. Simisear eventually takes off, whatever. Archeops.
yeah.
What compares to Archeops? We have other flying types, but they're not fucking Archeops. Like, come on. So nothing stands out like those do. The thing, honestly, I still disagree with all of your campaigning on it, but if there's one thing to be said for Poniard, nothing else really would do the Poniard thing. Not even offensive Mawile does the Poniard thing. That is at least one reason why it's a more attractive band than other stuff. We ban Stonejourner, and then Silvally Rock gets really good. And then we get rid of that, and well, actually, there's only really two really strong rock types. After that, it's Lunatone. But whatever, you
So yeah,
get
that would be a good idea. So like,
that's
if we were
that's
to
a
ban,
direction to look at. Yeah.
yeah, so it'd be like, okay, well, if we can just remove the necessity right now to be a certain type. So, for example, just a random example came to my head was Heatmore. If Heatmore is the only good fire type in the tier,
Mhm.
Heatmore is therefore a more attractive ban than, let's say, Leafeon, which is
Absolutely, yeah. Even though nobody would say Heatmore or Stonejourner are better than, well, you could argue Stonejourner is better than Leafeon. I would say absolutely not. But like, yeah, no one would say Stonejourner is the biggest thing to ban right now. But in terms of ban practicality, if we nuked Silvallies and then Stonejourner, Silvally Rock gone, I think that would do so much more for building than even necessarily getting rid of Double. To be honest, because Double is like loses to the same thing all the fighting types do. So you're already can have the same prep. Also, we're probably gonna get
exactly.
Magmar and then oh no, Magmar's in the second DLC. Never mind. Um,
But yeah, I guess that's where if anybody was confused on how the council gets to banning or not banning certain things, that's how the process works
hmm.
or should work.
Yeah, and I would love to. I really do want to resuspect so much stuff. We've banned a lot of very cool and fun things, like Rapidash. Even we got rid of it. I was like, no one. I would love to have Rapidash in the meta, or Appleton, or Noctowl. I think they would be really
Yeah,
cool. Or the fossils like Arctozolt. I think they would be really cool. But I can't imagine sticking another offensive threat back in the tier right now. I just can't.
yeah,
It's the same thing as what happened in Sun and Moon. We have all these cool mons, but why are we going to resuspect Samurott where like our defensive mons are clearly so far worse than our offensive mons, and now you want to stick in this like powerful mixed wall breaking water type that can SD Aqua Jet sweep and do special sets and do mixed sets and like you can't do it. That's kind of
yeah.
where
It just sounds
that's where the council is stuck bouncing a tier like PU, which is finally the one where
yeah,
nope the and you just takes all the good ones.
yep, exactly. And when you do something like that, I don't think what people understand is that you just add variance to the tier. It just adds another option that you don't prepare for, then you just end up losing to that thing. And
Yeah, we would
for the
not.
most part, you want
Samurott
to
would be
minimize.
uncompetitive, straight up. It would be bad for having a competitive meta where the better player is more likely to win.
Yep, that's exactly how it's like. You just want something um, that reduces variance as much as possible to a degree, because obviously it's Pokemon. There's going to be variance involved, but you you don't want it so that people just lose a preview to certain things, even if it's a small chance or even a mid-sized chance. You can't allow for that in a competitive manner.
Yeah. One final
Or
note.
seek to allow for that.
Yeah. One final note. I at least like this meta, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I love seeing the people in the room, especially Somalia. I swear he's the most positive guy on this about this meta. He's always like, "Dude, I love PU so much. Really cool." I love seeing all that stuff, and I really am having a lot of fun with this meta. Um, but some people are not. Like it's too variant. It's not the worst thing ever, but we really need to fix it. Um, I really hope PUPL can at least bring out creativity and positivity and competitiveness. Even if you're like there are aspects of this meta that are very frustrating, I hope that people following PUPL, building for PUPL, helping support for PUPL, even if you're not in, whatever. I hope it doesn't turn into anger towards the tier. We're trying. I think we're at least in a fun place, and if variance shit happens, I hope people are able to overcome that. Uh, if you can't and you think you genuinely just don't like PU and the meta is not balanced, then I respect that. But yeah, I think the worst thing that we could do is just get very mad at the tier because you see that in like I love following competitive Smash, and that has problems with people being toxic towards things they don't like about the game and just shit talking it all the time and discouraging people from getting into it. And that like seeing that happen in Smash and seeing the community talk about like we shit talk this game way too much on Twitter has really made me think about like what that might do for PU if people respond negatively to it. Um, what that did for Black and White in the last PUPL, for example, or we're still including it now. I think it's in a better place. I think it has the ability to be competitive, but like that meta took such a questioning hit due to the way people talked about it. Some plenty of it deserved, but like I don't want that to happen to our flagship generation because someone's like, man, I'm just so fucking tired of dealing with that Mr. Rhyme, you know? That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for
Yep.
coming to my TED Talk.
Thank you for coming to the TED Talk. Yes. Um, yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I think, yeah, hopefully people don't take it negatively by any means, but, I guess you can't really control for public opinion at a certain point. It's just sort of like, we did our best, and here goes nothing.
Yep. I'm just gonna hope. And honestly, PUPL is like that's the community thing. I want the community to be happy. Slam, people are gonna be shit talking the fuck out of this tier in Slam. It's haha PU. It's Grand Slam with it's gonna happen. So there will be some of the stuff I'm talking about. I just hope it's more centered around like the tour players and not the really invested PU players. Anyway,
100%.
I've really liked what we've talked about. I think this has actually been good. We've covered like interesting council issues and how we view bands. I kind of want to just shift it right into Jad's gimmick corner and clean it up. So this is like a nice, short, sweet, like listen to this, 25 minutes or whatever, and then that's it.
Yeah, sounds
Besides,
good.
it's a good way to encourage people to like and have fun with the meta. Going, hey, look at these gimmicks. Um,
Yeah.
Let me see if I
Um,
have. So I will shout out briefly before you do your thing because you're always last. Agility Phalanx is cool, and I'm not sure if I've talked about it. I'm really not sure. But I've been saving most of my gimmicks before PUPL, and this is like the one thing I really have. Um, Sometimes teams are just like, I'll use Scarf Manectric to beat Phalanx, and then you agility, and then you outspeed them, and then you sweep, and that's pretty fun. It's enjoyable, and I like doing it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Phoenix is cool. That thing is cool. Um, broken, but cool.
I really
So,
might have
yeah.
talked about it before. I don't remember. Goddamn. Whatever.
Really? I don't know. So my thing that I wanted to do is what was it? What it was? Okay, so the last thing I wanted to put people's attention to before PPL hit was where is it? There it is. So scarf, not scarf, like quick Roselia, like max speed, timid Roselia
Mhm.
with spikes, because it's the only spiker in the tier which gets access to sleep powder and then spikes, and then also is fast. So you can, in an offensive meta like this, if you want to get your hazards down, you have to take often a lot of damage to get the hazards down. Um, Scarf Rose, or like sorry, again, Timid Rose can get the sleep powders off. Can get the sleep powders off. Can do all of that stuff, and then also, um, you know,
Yeah.
just work it.
If it
You know,
dies
just
for
use,
sleep
get the
and if it dies for sleep and one spikes, it's not bad. Telene gave me a team with fast sleep spikes Rose. I think it's pretty good, like 75% of the time. And then you miss and Rose is completely useless, and you're like, but for the most part, yeah,
suck.
I agree. One last thing, this actually reminded me. Last week we talked a little bit about the Galarian birds, and we said that Articuno was dumb and stupid with the repeat typing, so they gave it Berserk to be cool. That's a lie. The Articuno, the laser beam Articuno that's just psychic flying again, that's the one with competitive. Galarian Moltres is the one with Berserk. So Moltres is even cooler, and Articuno is even less cool. Although competitive is still nice. Don't get me wrong. It's just not Berserk. So
Yeah.
I formally apologize for that little bit of misinformation there. Moltres is the one with the awesome Drampa ability.
Yeah, and I guess I like a fun thing to end it on. Let me just go back to my build here.
Oh, we have more. Okay.
Yeah, just a fun thing to end it on. I think DD Whiskash is like a thing that's kind of underrated.
I
You
really
know,
want to. Someone's gonna use it in PPL. Not in
someone's
DP,
got to do
not
it.
in DPP. Like in Sword and Shield, we're gonna see it.
I agree. I think it's gonna be there somewhere, and I'm gonna be absolutely loving it when it does end up taking over the tier. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Okay, Hajad, quick flash question. No thinking about it. I just sent the VR to you. What is the
Oh,
only what which Pokemon C minus is the least likely to be pulled out in PPL?
give me 1 second, bro. I don't even have Discord open. So,
What do you mean you don't have Discord
uh,
open? We're calling on Discord.
yeah, give me a second, bro.
I just think like they could all
Uh,
be pulled out so feasibly. What do you think?
wait, to go down or to go up?
No, which Pokemon C minus is the least likely to get used in PPL?
Least likely.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna go Drillbur.
All right, Jill. I think that's pretty fair. Everything else, yeah, yeah. Like,
I
but
think Drillbur isn't bad. Drillbur is not a bad
we
thing
have so
by
many,
other
yeah,
people.
we have so many gimmicks. I mean, like even just look at the drops, like Farfetch'd and Corsola. I think realistically, even Corsola, which I was talking up, they're probably going to be like not actually worth using. But if you decided to use these gimmicky mons for whatever reason, they'd actually be like kind of okay and definitely mess people up and have the surprise factor. And that's like all this low stuff. So yeah, DD that's kind of how I feel about DD Wish Cash. Like realistically, do I really want to use it? Maybe not. Is it gonna just mess someone up randomly? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's what the completely messing somebody up value is quite high with that one. So I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to that.
Anyway, that's our show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't do any of those. Please, just don't. Save yourself before it's too late.